I'm kind of a relaxed speaker, so what I'd like you to do is just sit back and kind of enjoy. Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah, those of us that like to light a cigarette, I'll break later on so we can increase our dopamine serotonin production. What we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about pharmacology today, what really is enjoyable, what we like to do, and why kids, for instance, enjoy getting high on a day-to-day basis, and why there's those out there that have this propensity to self-medicate. So what we'll do is we'll kind of play. If you see the film on me, it's only because these guys have been filming me for years. Why this is, I don't really know. I've become kind of a nomad of education. So I'm somewhere between what is going on in education, what goes on in medicine, and what goes on in law. So I have kind of a cross-discipline background. So some of you may have some familiarity with me getting in the front page of the paper, or somehow or another have had interactions with individuals with chemical dependency problems. And so if there's anything like that we could get into and talk about, please feel free. I'll also try to give you some of your own symptomatology while you're standing here. So if, for instance, you start to get a little nervous, a little anxiety, you start feeling depression coming on, I'll point it out to the rest of the class for you, and then see what we can do to relieve some of that. Very quickly, I think one of the things is we don't want to listen to people who give lectures, or at least who give demonstrations, what look like lectures, who have no background in what it is they're talking about. So let me very quickly explain to you that I've been drinking and drugging as far back as 10 years old. So as a lab rat, I have a lot of familiarity with the consumption of mood-altering substances, especially alcohol. My background is I'm Irish Roman Catholic, and if you know anything about us, we constitute 51% of Alcoholics Anonymous in the United States, have traced their roots in some way, shape, or form into that group. More schizophrenics can trace their roots back to Western Dublin than anywhere else in the world. And so when it looks at anxiety or depression, there are particular subgroups who have a greater susceptibility to particular diagnoses than others. So we're high volume for depression and anxiety, and part of that is, for anyone who ever read Angela's Ashes, you'll realize that the English purposely and knowingly attempted to starve the Irish to death. And one of the things we did have was alcohol known as poitín. And poitín was consumed by pregnant women, and in the process, if the fetus were to survive at all, it would come with some moderate to severe pronounced disabilities. So as one might look at, for instance, the short stature, the idea of curved in or bowed legs, arms that were longer than normally would develop. The ears would be higher or lower than others. There'd be no cleft in the lip. The eyes were not equidistant apart. And then, of course, if this young person were to continue to grow and evolve, they might grow a beard, and then inevitably the English could mock them by putting them in a green suit and a little green hat. And, of course, what am I describing? A leprechaun. The leprechaun is actually nothing to do with the Irish at all. It actually is the poster child for fetal alcohol syndrome. And if one goes back and takes a look at what a troll is in the Scandinavian countries, it's the long hair, the abnormal look and features that lived under a bridge. These were the throwaway babies. Here in America today, we have a very similar process going on, and one of the things I'd like to do is to kind of share some of that with you. So after 22 years of drinking and drugging, and I didn't drink because I felt it was the right thing to do, I did it because it made me feel normal, and whatever normal feels like. I threw down 2, 3, 4 beers, and the next thing you know, I could dance, I could talk, I could address people, I felt confident. So there was a neurophysiological change that would occur in my system as far back as 5th grade.